Good afternoon, folks. It's Harrison with Mainely Acres Farms, and in today's video I'm going to go over the top 6 questions that I get asked in regards to hempcrete. So if you're thinking about using hempcrete for your next building project, you're going to want to stay tuned. So question number 1 is, what is hempcrete and how do I make it? So hempcrete is a lightweight building composite material that's great for all sorts of different insulating applications. You can use it in blown-in attic insulation, in wall, subfloor, round window frames, just anything that you can think insulating, hempcrete can be used for. And it's great because when you mix it, you can kind of mold it and apply it in all sorts of different ways. So basic ingredients that you're going to need to make the hempcrete is lime, water, and hemp herds. Now, if you guys seen my previous video, hemp herds is basically the inner wooden core on the industrial hemp stalk, and it normally comes ground up like this and pretty uniform in size. So that's important when you're looking into ordering some hemp herds for building your hempcrete. You want to make sure that they're anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 1 inch in length, and you want to make sure that there's not a lot of dust particulates in there as well. It'll really mess up our mixing ratios when we mix this together with the lime and the water. So the next product that I want to talk about is the lime. Now, the pioneers of hempcrete are over in Europe, and they have a really good mix, and I'll leave a picture of it and the name of it right behind me here, and you guys can order that, add your hemp herds and water, and you're good to go. The only drawback to that is a lot of people are interested here in America how to make hempcrete. So what are some ways to kind of get around not having to import this special lime mix from Europe and saving a little bit of cost when we build our own? So one way to do that is to buy hydrogenated lime, which a lot of you guys are probably familiar with. You can pick it up at your local hardware store. And you take that and you take another product which is called metakaolin, and you mix those two in a 50-50 mix ratio to get your 1 part of lime that you mix in with your hempcrete. And what that does is it allows the hydrogenated lime to have a better hydraulic set. And what that means is the hydraulic setting properties allow the hempcrete to have that moisture control that a lot of people look at when they're looking into hempcrete. Another product that you can buy is Portland cement. Now, if you're going to use the Portland cement, you're not going to want to mix it in a 50-50 mix with the lime. You'll probably want to do like an 80 lime to the 20 Portland cement. And the reason you want to do that is because if you add the Portland cement, it makes the hempcrete a lot more denser, which basically robs you of the R value, but it does increase the thermal mass heating properties of it. So the next question is, what are some of the different uses that I can get out of the hempcrete? And I briefly talked about those in the beginning. So you can use it in all kinds of insulating applications, from blown in, wall, and subfloor. There are different mix ratios for each one of those, and basically starting at the roof, you're using a very lightweight mixture, and it's getting a little bit denser as we go down. So I'll leave some mix ratios on the board behind me, so that way you can kind of see the different weights and the different density of each one of those products. And a good way to kind of test that for yourself is to kind of make little form out of wood that is 1 cubic foot in dimensions, so that way you can add your hempcrete to it, tamp it down, not tamp it down, allow it to dry, and then weigh that, so that way you guys can see if you're in the correct ballpark for the different applications that it's used in. So the next question is, what can we not use hempcrete for? And that's a good question, because a lot of people get confused by the name. They see hempcrete and they think that it's you can utilize it in all the same uses that you would use concrete, and that's just not the case. They have similar names, but other than the name, that's all they have in common. So your concrete has really good compression strength, so you can really utilize that with building columns, support walls, and things of that nature, whereas your hempcrete, not so much. It doesn't have very good compression strength, and if you put a hard load on it, it will just crumble underneath the weight. So I'll leave you some compression strengths up on the back, the hempcrete versus the concrete, and you guys can see for yourself that you're not going to want to be building any support columns or support walls out of your hempcrete. So the next great question that I get, and I get this more than any of the other questions, so I probably should have put this as number one, is hempcrete cost effective? And the sad answer to that now in 2019 is no. And the reason why it's no is because we're not currently growing industrial hemp on a large scale here in America, but I do hope that that is going to change and allow those costs to come down so it can be more affordable for everybody. Another reason why it's not cost effective is because a lot of people don't want to fool around with mixing the lime and the different products to give it a good hydraulic set. So they just order the pre-mixed lime that is made over in Europe, and they have that shipped in. So you have the shipping cost of the hemp herds, and you have the shipping cost of the lime that they're using. So pretty much, 2/3 of the materials they're using are coming from overseas. So they're paying a high premium to have those shipped to them. Another reason why it's not cost effective is because of the drying time. Now, depending on your environment, it can take hempcrete anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks to dry. And when you're talking about commercial buildings and commercial builders, they really don't want to waste their time on letting that stuff dry before they can enclose it. So it's really not even a consideration to a lot of these people on a commercial scale. Another cost inhibiting factor is if you're going to go with the double studded wall method, where you put up one set of studs here and another one on the inside, and then put your forms up to pour it in and allow you to do your hempcrete faster, that's going to drive your framing cost up by 2. Now, you can get around that because there are a lot of people that are using the single wall framing method and kind of molding the hempcrete around the studs, which is really interesting in my opinion, because there's no exposed studs, which allows it to be more fire resistant because there's no wood exposed that can potentially catch on fire if you have a house fire. So I'm really interested in that. The only drawback with that, once again, is it takes more time to do that because you're having to build spacers so that way you can screw your plywood up and get a form to pour it in. Some people are just completely getting away from the forms and using like an adobe method where they kind of form it around it and do a little at a time, but then again it takes a lot more time, so that's going to drive the cost up for you guys. So what are some of the benefits of using the hempcrete? Let's talk about some of the good stuff. There are a lot of great benefits for using hempcrete. Great pest resistant, good fire resistance. It right now is currently past the European 75-minute burn test, so that's really cool. Great moisture control properties, so it doesn't allow water to condensate in your walls, and if you were to so happen to get your walls wet, the hempcrete still holds its form, so that's really great. Has natural antimicrobial and antifungal properties. So if you're someone that has a lot of allergies and things, it's a really great hypoallergenic building material to use, because not only does the lime have the natural antimicrobial and fungal properties, but the hemp herds do as well. So the last question is, what are some of the R rating values that I can get out of hempcrete? And I have some numbers here that I'll share with you on the back board here, and this is mainly for the in-wall applications of the hempcrete. So in an 8-inch wall, you can expect to get an R rating of an R16. In a 12-inch wall, you can expect to get an R rating value of R24. And then in a 16-inch wall, you can expect to get an R rating of R32. So that's it. Those are the 6 questions that I get asked most frequently on the hempcrete. So if you guys thought this video was really helpful, as always, hit that thumbs up button down below. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate all of your support and all the new viewers out there. So as always, guys, take care and spend time with that family.